You're going to hate me for this because I've told you it so many times. Okay, first things first. Not everyone is good at moss stitch. Not everyone loves garter stitch. Not everyone can do cables and lace. That's what we're talking about today. We're talking about how you can find easy patterns if you are knitting for Christmas. And that's what we need to figure out. What is your easy? Hi and welcome to Knit with Hannah. I'm here with Knitting Natter to help you knit with ease, confidence and joy. When we're knitting gifts for Christmas, finding easy patterns is the way to go. And we need to figure out what easy is for us. What is easy for you? Also, let's think about how long you have left before Christmas and think about quick knits. Easy knits can take less time to knit. Easy knits can feel easier and therefore we're more motivated so they don't take as long to knit because we're willing to pick the pattern up. We're willing to pick the needles up and knit through that pattern. So let's figure out today what those patterns are for you. What's easy and what feels quick to knit. How about you sit down with a notebook and look through what you've knitted in the last 12 months, for example. Which patterns felt easy? Which stitch patterns felt easy? What techniques did you learn that felt really difficult? What stitch abbreviations did you attempt that you never want to try again? All of those different things can be some things that, yeah, they will feel easier maybe in a year's time. But they will also be something that you don't want to attempt this Christmas. You're going to resent picking it up. So definitely with this specific date, with the need for focus and motivation to keep knitting, then you definitely need to have something that is sat there on your needles that you want to pick up. Write down those things. Do you love ribbing and cabling, but you're a hot mess at moss stitch? Does garter stitch feel easy, but you actually find it quite boring? I love garter stitch, I love cabling, I love interesting stitch patterns that actually are just so repetitive, they just give me that rhythm and the meditative idea when I'm knitting. Just, oh yes, I love that. But that's me. What is you? What is you? Do you like shaping? Do you hate shaping? Do you like sewing things together? Or would you rather knit circularly? All of those different things can really help you make a decision, and actually for this point in time in your knitting journey, it will be something that you can look at and go, okay, I need an easy pattern. What is on that list that I can definitely knit for myself or for other people, say over the next 12 months? You can come back and review it. And when you find something else that you love knitting or that you hate knitting, you can put it on that list. And when you realise that there's something on there that you've gone, I don't want to try that again, but it's been on that list for maybe 12 or 18 months, you can go, that actually feels achievable. Or I picked up a pattern with that and I didn't realise that it was so difficult 12 months ago because I can actually do it now. You will move in your journey of knitting and you will find things that you couldn't do before that you can do now. So definitely keep that list with you in your knitting bag perhaps and say, okay, what is achievable for me now? What's achievable for me 12 months ago? And what might be achievable for me moving forward? So that's one thing to think about for Christmas knitting. Easy patterns will mean that it's faster to knit and it's more motivating to knit. The second point I really want to give to you today is that when you're knitting, you're not going to be knitting using the same amount of time as everyone else. Yes, we knit at different speeds. We knit more slowly, we knit more quickly. Like I've said, if something feels easy to you, you're more likely to knit it more quickly. And someone may say, oh yes, you can take this long to knit a jumper. Nah, I wouldn't say that that's going to be right. This is why I don't put an amount of hours on my pattern. If you buy this pattern, it will take you 2 hours or 8 hours or 10 hours to knit. Because like I've already said, we knit more slowly, we knit more quickly. We find a pattern more easy and more difficult. So something that we've knitted in the past that is very similar yarns, similar size needles, that we've knitted at a particular time, then we pick up this pattern and it feels a bit more difficult, or there's a bit more thing to learn, then that knitting pattern is going to possibly take you longer. It may even take you shorter time because you're knitting with different yarn or different needles. So take a look at the knitting patterns in your perspective, not other people's perspective. But there's also the point of how often are you able to pick it up every week? How often do you knit? Are you knitting for 10 minutes a day in your lunch break? And then you're just so busy for the rest of the day that you cannot do any more? Or are you sitting there going, you know what, I got 3 hours this evening. That's your life. You sit there and you knit. And that is something that you need to consider too. Recognise how much you knit, how often you knit, and yeah, I mean we could go into this. How productive is your knitting? But it needs to be something that is not we have to be productive. It's something that is enjoyable for you. So if you're sitting there feeling frustrated and I have to do this quickly because it's Christmas, it's not going to be helpful and it's not going to be nice for you. You're going to knit these gifts with a great deal of resentment. Remember, now is winter and you're more likely to knit possibly for longer during the day. But also, as Christmas appears, there may be more things that you need to do. Perhaps you need to sit on the internet and find gifts one evening. You just need to order a load of gifts. Perhaps you're going to have to do late night shopping one evening. Okay, well, we need gifts. I've got to go and get these so I can wrap these presents. You may also be saying, well, if I'm knitting, I can't go to that party. Well, if you want to go to a knitting party, if you want to go to a Christmas party because that's what's happening and all your friends are going to be there, you don't have to stop that because you're knitting. So also think about what else is happening in your life, because that time that you have to knit will not be the same for everyone. This sounds really complicated, I know. So what is the quick way to do this? What is the quick way to find the easy knitting pattern? And you can knit these for Christmas. I'll tell you what. Knit a pattern that you've knitted before. You're going to hate me for this because I've told you it so many times. But knitting a pattern that you've knitted before, with yarn and with needles that you've used before, guess what? It's going to feel easier. And the weird thing is, you did lots of cabling in that year, so it might feel easy that year. You pick it up again and you go, oh my God, I haven't knitted cables for ages. But that automatic pilot comes in. You go, oh, that muscle memory comes in. After a few rows, you go, oh, this is easy. I'd forgotten that. But actually, looking at it again, yeah, I can do it. If I'd said to myself, you haven't done complex cables for a very long time, Hannah, do not pick this cardigan up and think you can knit it, I would not be knitting the current cardigan that I'm knitting. It's so, so true. This is it here. It's got cables all over it. They are switching in and out. And I've knitted this in the past. So, oh yeah, I remember the mistakes that I made, even though it was probably 10 years ago. And the yarn feels nice and easy because the yarn I've knitted with before. And I'm just picking it up and going, yeah, this is okay, I can knit this. I've done the back and I've started on the front. I've been knitting a baby blanket, so this has just kind of sat in the background a little bit. But it feels okay because the muscle memory is kind of going, yeah, you can do this. Yeah, that was easy, wasn't it? You thought you'd forgotten, but you hadn't. And the muscle memory, the techniques that you've done in the past can come back, even though you think that it's not possible anymore. So remember, you don't have to knit a pattern that you've knitted in the last year. If you've been knitting for years and you haven't done lace knitting, or you haven't done cable knitting, or you haven't done colour knitting for a while, remember that because you've done it in the past, it could well be nice and easy for you if you return to it now. just do a couple of practice rows or do something small that's very similar. And before you know it, you could knit that thing for Christmas. But yes, generally speaking, if you've knitted something in the past, you can knit it for Christmas gift. Definitely. So this is what I'm talking about. I've already suggested you write a list of what feels easy to knit and what feels like a quick knit to you. And this is what planning is all about. Planning your knitting can be so helpful. It can mean that you've finished the knits that you start. It can mean that you don't waste the yarn and that you don't waste the time that you've been putting into your knitting as well. It can also mean that you make decisions more quickly and you actually get motivated to knit. So focusing helps you make those decisions. If you'd like to dive deeper, then the Christmas Knitting Master Planner is going to help you on a deeper level as well. And this is something you can do year after year after year, because it's a course that's over in the Academy. It's much longer than any of these YouTube videos could give you. You'll have worksheets in there, and guess what? I'm refilming the videos as well. There are still over 2 months to go before Christmas Day, so you can definitely knit before Christmas, and you can knit gifts. Like I said last week, I've helped people go through this in the past when they only have 6 weeks left before Christmas, and they've specifically focused, made those decisions, and they've knitted because they felt motivated. If you invest in something like this, if you invest the time into this kind of planning, then the motivation will come, most definitely. Right, I have jabbered enough today. Let's get that Christmas knitting sorted, focused and decisive, and of course motivated as well. I will leave any links that I've mentioned today in the description below, and of course you can see right here the video from last week, which also gives you more tips about Christmas knitting. I will see you again soon. Bye for now. Happy knitting.